Good morning, boys and girls. Well, I hear that it's book week with you this week. I'm going to read you a very old story. This book was published in 1974, so you can work out how old that is. I got it for a prize when I was a little girl. And for those of you who can see, it's Andy Pandy and the Teddy Dog. And it's written by Maria Bird. Now, are you ready? Here we go. I wish I were a dog, Teddy said one day. Whatever for? Andy asked. Then I could have a tail, Teddy said. All dogs have tails. I like you as you are, Andy said. You're my own nice little teddy bear, and I don't want you any different. But Teddy had made up his mind. I'm going to be a dog, he said, and I shan't answer unless you call me by a dog's name. Andy Pandy laughed. What do you want to be called then? He asked. You can call me Ponto, said Teddy. You'll have to learn to bark, Andy said. I can do that already, Teddy answered, and he ran away round the room shouting, woof, woof, woof. The white kitten hid under a chair. She was quite frightened. You're going to be a dog, Andy said. Well, if you're going to be a dog, I suppose you will want a collar and a lead, Teddy said. Then we can go out shopping and I will carry the basket in my mouth. But I must have a tail. So Andy Pandy got out the rag bag and began to sew. He cut out a beautiful red tail, but he didn't know how to sew it on. You'll have to be one of those dogs that wear a coat, he said. Then I can sew the tail onto the coat. I should like that, Teddy said, looking very pleased. Andy sewed all day. Teddy did all the washing up and the housework, but when he wasn't looking, Luby Lou went round after him and did it all again. She did it better than he. Teddy was very pleased indeed with his new things. Andy Pandy couldn't find a piece of cloth big enough to make a coat, so he made one of patchwork. It was very pretty and looked splendid with a long red tail hanging down behind. When Andy Pandy had finished, Teddy stood on all fours wearing his coat, tail, collar and lead. Do I need a bell on the collar in case I get lost? He asked. Yes, Teddy said. Yes, Teddy, said Andy. Yes, who? Growled Teddy. Yes, Ponto, Andy answered, pretending to be frightened. When they were ready, Andy Pandy and Teddy went shopping. Andy held the lead and Teddy carried the basket. Every now and then he put it down so that he could bark, woof, woof, and he often bumped into things because he kept turning round to look at his tail. While they were out, the white kitten went to see a friend of his, a great, big, enormous black cat. I want you to do something for me, said the white kitten. He began to whisper to his friend, and very soon they were laughing as though their sides would split. When Andy Pandy had finished shopping, they started off home. But the basket was very heavy, and Teddy wasn't at all used to such heavy things in his mouth. Do let me carry it, Teddy, said Andy. But as soon as he heard Teddy growl, he said, All right, good dog, Ponto. Andy Pandy had to wait a good many times because poor Ponto was not only tired, but very hot in his fine new coat. But suddenly Andy felt him tugging on the lead, and he looked round to see the great big enormous black cat tearing down the road towards them. Teddy was so frightened that he stood quite still. The great big enormous black cat stood still, so that his fur stood on end and his tail became twice its real size. "Go away," he hissed, spitting at Teddy. "Cats hate dogs." "He's not a real dog," Andy said. "He's only a teddy dog." He helped Teddy take off his dog clothes and stood him upright to show that he really was a little bear, but the great big enormous black cat ran after them just the same. Safely home at last, Teddy put his dog clothes on again. "I'll only wear them indoors," he promised. "Do you still want to be a dog?" Andy Pandy asked. "Only sometimes," Teddy said. He climbed on a chair to look at himself in the glass. Underneath it was the white kitten, laughing all over its naughty little face. That's the end of Andy Pandy.